My parents and younger sister came over for a family talk and told me my sister acquired my house for her mental well-being. My own parents, my flesh and blood, tried to kick me out of my own master bedroom to give it to my sister. Seriously. So I did the only thing I could. I sold the entire house. And let me tell you, the fallout was absolutely explosive. Look, I'm 31, a software engineer, and I'm still reeling from what just happened. I need to know if I completely lost my mind, or if selling my house and essentially disappearing was the most brilliant thing I've ever done. 2 years ago, I bought my first house. Nothing grand, just a modest 3-bedroom place in a decent neighborhood, about 40 minutes from my parents. I was incredibly proud of it. I'd saved for years, working my tail off, while my younger sister, Michelle, who's 24, bounced between apartments, jobs, and what felt like a never-ending series of life crises. Michelle has always been, shall we say, the golden child of the family. When she dropped out of college twice, my parents, Patricia and Robert, said she was finding herself. When she quit 6 jobs in 2 years, oh, she was just selective about her environment. And when she moved back home for the 4th time, they claimed she needed emotional support during a difficult transition. Meanwhile, I worked 2 jobs through college, graduated with honors, and never asked them for a dime after I turned 18. But hey, that's ancient history, right? About 3 weeks ago, my parents called a family meeting at my house. They've been doing that more and more since I bought the place, always finding reasons to discuss family matters in my living room instead of their own. I should have seen the red flags waving when they insisted Michelle had to be there too. They arrived, Michelle trailing behind them, and almost immediately she started critiquing my home. James, this master bedroom is incredible. The natural light would be perfect for my meditation practice. I just laughed it off, trying to keep the mood light, and showed them the lunch I'd prepared, my mom's favorite lasagna. That's when Dad, Robert, dropped the first bomb. Son, we need to discuss Michelle's living situation. Her therapist says she needs a stable, nurturing environment with plenty of natural light and space for her healing journey. I nodded, already picturing myself helping them search for apartments, maybe co-signing a lease if I had to. I was so wrong. Mom, Patricia, jumped in, her voice dripping with manufactured sweetness. We've been thinking, and that master bedroom of yours would be perfect for Michelle's needs. You could easily take the smaller guest room. You're hardly home anyway with your work schedule. I actually laughed out loud. I mean, a genuine, disbelieving laugh. You're joking, right? They weren't. My dad's face turned serious, almost stern. James, family helps family. Michelle is going through a difficult time with her anxiety and seasonal depression. The therapist specifically said she needs a room with Eastern exposure and adequate space for her yoga practice. Your master bedroom is perfect. My blood ran cold. Then she can rent a place with a nice master bedroom. I shot back, still not quite believing this was real. Michelle, finally speaking up, had tears already welling in her eyes. I can't afford rent right now, James. You know I'm between jobs. And this house, Mom added, laying it on thick, it has such good energy. I feel safe here. It would just be temporary. Maybe 6 months to a year, just until Michelle gets back on her feet. You understand, don't you? You've always been the stable one, the strong one. We know we can count on you. This, right here, was the moment. The exact second. I probably should have just said no and walked away. But something inside me just snapped. Years of being the stable one, while watching them enable Michelle's refusal to grow up. Years of being expected to sacrifice because I was doing fine. Years of my achievements being minimized while Michelle's failures were cushioned. It all crystallized into one burning point. You're right, I said, my voice surprisingly calm. I have been the stable one. And you know what? I'm tired of it. They actually looked relieved, thinking I was agreeing. My God, the audacity. So, I'm going to make this really simple, I continued, cutting through their smug silence. I'm selling the house. The room went absolutely silent. You could hear the old clock ticking in the kitchen, the neighbor's dog barking faintly in the distance. My mom's face cycled through confusion, disbelief, then a flash of pure anger. My dad actually laughed nervously. Come on, James. Don't be dramatic. We're just asking for a simple favor. A simple favor? My calm facade shattered. I stood up, feeling a tremor of raw rage. A simple favor? You're asking me to give up my master bedroom in my own house. The house I saved for. The house I pay the mortgage on. The house where I should feel comfortable and secure. That's not a simple favor, Dad. That's an insane request. But Michelle needs, Mom started. Michelle needs to get her life together. I interrupted, my voice rising. She's 24 years old. When I was 24, I was working 60 hours a week and sleeping on a mattress on the floor to save money. When you were 24, Mom, you already had me and were working as a nurse. Dad, you were starting your accounting practice. Why does Michelle get a pass? Michelle started crying harder, her sobs echoing dramatically. James, how can you be so cruel? I'm your sister. I have mental health issues and I have sympathy for that, I said, trying to keep my voice even but failing. But mental health issues don't entitle you to my bedroom. They mean you need treatment, medication, therapy, and yes, personal responsibility. Not my house. You're being ridiculous, my dad said, his voice hardening. No one sells a house over a bedroom dispute. Watch me, I said, my gaze locking onto his. I'm not being dramatic. I'm being practical. You've made it clear that my owning a house means I'm expected to sacrifice my space for Michelle whenever she has another crisis. So, I'm removing the temptation. I'll sell the house and buy something smaller, maybe a nice one-bedroom condo, or better yet, a studio. Can't give up a master bedroom if there isn't one. Mom stood up, her face a mask of fury. James William Henderson, you will not sell this house over something so petty. Family doesn't demand I give up my bedroom in my own house that I paid for with my own money from my own job. I shot back. And yes, I absolutely will sell this house. In fact, I'll call a realtor tomorrow. My dad tried the guilt trip, of course. Your mother and I sacrificed everything for you kids. We paid for your college. You paid for one semester, I corrected, a bitter laugh escaping me. I got scholarships and worked to cover the rest. You paid for Michelle's 4 semesters before she dropped out twice. Want to do the math on who cost more? The argument raged for another hour. They threw every manipulation tactic in the book at me. Guilt about family loyalty, shame about my selfishness, fear about ending up alone. They even tried bribes, offering to pay me rent for the room, a laughable $200 a month for my master bedroom. Finally, they left in a fury, Michelle sobbing dramatically in the back seat, Mom calling me heartless, and Dad warning I'd regret this when I calmed down. Here's the thing, I didn't calm down. I called a realtor the very next morning. Jennifer, her name was. She was fantastic. She came over that same day. As we walked through the rooms, I spilled the whole story. She just shook her head, a hint of awe in her eyes. I've seen a lot of family real estate drama, she admitted, but this is a new one. Your parents really thought you'd just give up your master bedroom. They didn't think I'd say no, I explained, the words tasting like ash. I never have before. Jennifer understood the urgency. The market was hot, and she said I could probably get 20% more than I paid 2 years ago. Photographers were there by Wednesday, and the house was listed by Friday. I also started looking at studios and one-bedroom condos. Specifically, places with no guest parking, no extra space, and definitely no room for a pull-out couch. I found a perfect 650-square-foot studio in a converted office space. All concrete and glass, modern industrial vibe, with a strict guest policy. Visitors could only park for 2 hours, and overnight stays were limited to 3 nights per month. The studio had one main room with a sleeping alcove, a small but efficient kitchen, and a bathroom with just enough space for one person. Perfect. My phone started blowing up. My parents sent everything from angry texts to tearful voicemails. Mom's messages ranged from, "How could you do this to your sister?" to, "Please, James, let's talk about this like adults," to the classic, "You're breaking my heart." Dads were more threatening. "You're making a huge mistake. You'll lose your whole family over this. And my personal favorite, I didn't raise you to be this selfish. Michelle? She posted a whole novel on Facebook about how family betrayal cuts the deepest and how some people choose money over blood. She wrote an entire essay about her mental health struggles and how her own brother kicked her while she was down. The comments were a hilarious mix of sympathy and people subtly pointing out that she wasn't actually being kicked out of anywhere since she didn't live with me. My extended family was divided, naturally. My Aunt Susan thought I was ridiculous and selfish. My Uncle David said it was about time someone stopped enabling Michelle. My cousins, bless their hearts, were mostly on my side, having witnessed years of Michelle's drama at every family gathering. But here's what sealed my decision, hardening my resolve like concrete. My cousin Aaron told me this wasn't even Michelle's idea originally. My parents had been planning this for months. They'd been telling Michelle how perfect my house would be for her, how the master bedroom would help her mental health, how being closer to my job area would open up opportunities for her. They had essentially promised her my room before ever even talking to me. Aaron showed me text messages from a family group chat I wasn't part of. Mom had written, 3 months ago, once Michelle moves into James' master bedroom, she'll be in a much better position to heal and grow. The natural light and space will do wonders for her depression. Someone had asked if I was okay with it, and Dad had responded, James will understand. He always does the right thing for family. They created this entire twisted narrative where I, the successful older brother, would naturally sacrifice for my struggling sister. They assumed I'd cave like I always had before. Not this time. The house already had 2 offers within 3 days, both over asking. One couple offered $25,000 over. Another offered $35,000 over, with a cash deal and waived inspection. I was tempted to take the higher offer immediately, but Jennifer advised waiting through the weekend. The house sold. I accepted the offer for $35,000 over asking price from a lovely couple with 2 kids. They were so excited, telling me about how their daughters would each have their own room for the first time. The irony wasn't lost on me. Children getting their own bedrooms, while my parents wanted me to give up mine. My studio apartment application was approved, and I could move in immediately. The property manager, Michael, was impressed with my credit score and employment history. You're exactly the kind of tenant we want, he said. Quiet, stable, responsible. I decided to tell my family in person. Partly because I wanted to see their faces. Partly because I wanted witnesses. I asked my cousins Aaron and Tyler to meet me at my parents' house. They knew what was coming and agreed to be there for support. When I arrived, my parents actually seemed relieved. Mom even smiled. I knew you'd come around, sweetheart. Family is more important than pride. Michelle was there too, already planning out loud. I've been looking at furniture online. I think a white bedroom set would look amazing with the eastern light, and we could put up some floating shelves for my crystal collection. I let them think that for about 30 seconds. I came. To tell you, I said, my voice cutting through Michelle's excited chatter. The house sold. Closing is in 2 weeks. The silence was deafening. You could hear the grandfather clock in the hallway, a sound I'd grown up with, but never really noticed until that moment. My dad stood up slowly, his face drained of color. You actually sold it? For $35,000 over asking, I confirmed, a sense of grim satisfaction settling over me. Cash offer. They waived inspection. Michelle, who had been sitting quietly with what I can only describe as a smug expression, suddenly went pale. But where am I supposed to live? Wherever you've been living, I suggested, shrugging. Or you could, get a job and rent your own place. My mom's relief curdled into fury. James, this is insane. You sold your house just to spite us. No, I said firmly, meeting her gaze. I sold my house to establish boundaries. You showed me that as long as I have something you want, you'll feel entitled to it. So I'm simplifying my life. Aaron chose that moment to speak up. And Pat, you do realize you tried to take his bedroom in his own house, right? That's not normal. Mom rounded on him. This is family business, Aaron. And I'm family, Aaron shot back, his voice surprisingly steady. And I'm tired of watching you and Uncle Rob enable Michelle while expecting James to pick up the pieces. Tyler added, do you have any idea how messed up it is to demand someone give up their master bedroom in their own house that they paid for? My dad tried to regain control. This isn't about the bedroom. It's about Michelle's mental health. Then get her actual help. I said, my patience completely gone. Not my bedroom. Therapy, medication if needed. Job training, life skills coaching. You know, things that will actually help her long term. Michelle started crying again, but this time it seemed different. Less dramatic, more genuinely upset. You all hate me. You want me to suffer. No, Michelle, I said, trying to keep my voice level. We want you to grow up. You're 24. By your age, I was working full-time and saving for a house. You can't even hold a job for 6 months. Not everyone is perfect like you, she screamed, tears streaming down her face. I'm not perfect, I stated, a cold resolve in my voice. I just take responsibility for my life. You should try it sometime. That's when things got really ugly. Michelle started throwing things, couch pillows at first, then a vase that had been on the coffee table. It shattered against the wall and my mom screamed, "This is what you've done." Mom yelled at me, her eyes blazing. "You've destroyed this family." "No," Tyler said firmly, stepping between us. "Michelle throwing a tantrum like a toddler is what's destroying this family. James selling his house to avoid being manipulated is just self-preservation." My dad tried one more time, his voice weary. "James, please, let's think about this rationally. You're losing money on realtor fees, closing costs, moving expenses, all over a bedroom." "It's not about a bedroom," I said, the words heavy with years of unspoken resentment. "It's about respect. It's about boundaries. It's about 24 years of watching you both enable Michelle to the point where she thinks she's entitled to my house. My actual house." I turned to leave, but stopped at the door, delivering my final blow. "Oh, and my new place? It's a studio, 650 square feet. No guest room, no couch, barely enough room for me. The building has a 2-hour visitor parking limit, and overnight guests are limited to 3 nights per month. So, even if you wanted to visit, you couldn't stay." Mom started sobbing again. "You're cutting us off. Your own family." "I'm not cutting you off," I said, my voice flat. "I'm just making sure you can't take advantage of me anymore. There's a difference." The last thing I heard as I left was my dad muttering that I'd regret this when I'm alone with no family. Aaron and Tyler left with me, shaking their heads. We went to a bar, and they told me stories I'd never heard before, about times my parents had tried to guilt them into helping Michelle, lending her money she never paid back, giving her furniture she later sold, covering her rent when she couldn't work because of stress. "Remember when she convinced Grandma to co-sign on that car?" Aaron said, slamming his beer down. "Then stopped making payments after 3 months? Grandma almost lost her house. Uncle Rob had to pay it off to save her credit," Tyler added, grimacing. "Turns out, I wasn't the only one fed up. I was just the first one to go nuclear." The moving truck came on Thursday. I'd hired professional movers, not wanting to deal with the drama of asking friends to help. As I watched them load my furniture, I felt a strange mix of sadness and profound relief. My neighbor, Nancy, came over to say goodbye. "I heard you're moving. We'll miss you." I told her a simplified version of the story, and she just shook her head. "Good for you, James. Sometimes you have to protect yourself, even from family." The movers were efficient. Within 4 hours, my entire life was packed into a truck. The house looked so empty, but also full of potential for its new family. I did a final walkthrough, remembering all the work I'd poured into the place. I'd refinished the hardwood floors myself, spent weekends painting every room, upgraded the kitchen appliances one by one as I could afford them. This house had been my pride and joy, my symbol of making it on my own, and I was walking away from it to prove a point. Was I crazy? My phone buzzed. It was a text from Jennifer, my realtor. "The buyers are so excited. They wanted me to thank you again for accepting their offer. This house is going to change their lives. No, I wasn't crazy. I was passing my house on to a family who would appreciate it, not treat it as something they were entitled to. The studio was a dramatic change. When the movers arrived, they actually laughed. You sure all this is going to fit? They asked. It didn't. I had to make quick decisions about what to keep and what to donate. The dining table? Gone. The guest bedroom furniture? Donated. The oversized sectional sofa? Replaced with a simple two-seater. By evening, I was alone in my new space. It was tiny, but it was mine. Every single inch of it was mine, and no one could demand I give it up. I ordered pizza and ate it sitting on the floor looking out my single window at the city lights. My phone had been silent for hours. Apparently, my family had finally run out of things to say. Then, around 10 p.m., I got a call from an unknown number. It was Michelle's best friend, Stephanie. James, I'm sorry to call so late, but I'm worried about Michelle. She's been drinking and talking about doing something stupid. My heart sank. Despite everything, she was still my sister. What kind of stupid? I asked, my voice tight. She keeps saying everyone would be better off without her. I think she needs help. I gave Stephanie the number for the mental health crisis line and told her to call emergency services if Michelle seemed like an immediate danger to herself. Then I called my dad. Your daughter is in crisis, I said without preamble. Her friend Stephanie is with her. This is exactly why she needs professional help, not my bedroom. Dad was silent for a moment. Is she okay? He asked, his voice cracking. I don't know, but this is what happens when you enable someone instead of getting them help. She doesn't know how to cope with disappointment because you've never let her experience it. This is your fault, he said weakly, a desperate accusation. No, Dad. This is the result of 24 years of your parenting choices. Get her help. Real help, not a new bedroom. I hung up and spent the night anxiously waiting for updates. Finally, around 2 a.m., Aaron texted me. Michelle is okay. They took her to the hospital for evaluation. She admitted she wasn't really going to hurt herself, just wanted attention. Even in crisis, she was manipulating. The closing went smoothly. The buyers were lovely people, the Johnsons, with 2 daughters aged 8 and 10. They were so grateful, telling me how they'd been looking for a house in that school district for years. The girls are already fighting over who gets which room. Mrs. Johnson laughed, but it's a good problem to have. I signed the papers with no regrets. The fallout from Michelle's crisis had been interesting. The hospital had kept her for 72 hours of observation and concluded that while she had anxiety and depression, she wasn't actively suicidal. They'd recommended intensive outpatient therapy and medication management. My dad and mom had been forced to confront some hard truths during family sessions at the hospital. The social worker had apparently been very direct about how their enabling had contributed to Michelle's inability to cope with normal life stresses. According to Aaron, who heard from his mom, who heard from Patricia, the social worker had said, your daughter has never had to develop coping skills because you've always rescued her. She threatened self-harm, not because she's truly suicidal, but because she's learned it gets her what she wants. This is learned behavior and it needs to stop. Mom had apparently broken down crying, realizing how their help had actually hurt Michelle. But the real shock came a few days after the closing. My dad called me. James, he said, his voice tired, I owe you an apology. I nearly dropped my phone. I've been looking at our finances, he continued. We've spent almost $40,000 on Michelle in the last 3 years. That doesn't even count the smaller stuff. Groceries, gas money, cell phone bills. Your mother and I are going to have to delay retirement because of it. I'm sorry to hear that, I said, and I meant it. The worst part is she's no better off than she was 3 years ago. Actually, she's worse. She can't hold a job, can't keep an apartment, can't manage basic adult tasks. And we did that to her. Dad, no. Let me finish, he interrupted, a raw edge to his voice. When you bought your house, I was proud of you. So proud. You did everything right, worked hard, saved money, made smart choices. And then we tried to take it from you to give to Michelle, who's done nothing to earn it. That was wrong. I see that now. Thank you for saying that, I said quietly, a tightness in my chest beginning to ease. Your mother. She's having a harder time accepting it. She still thinks we just need to support Michelle a little more, help her get on her feet. But I'm done. I told Michelle she has 30 days to get a job or she's out. Really? I asked, a flicker of hope igniting. Really? And I mean it this time. The social worker gave us resources, job training programs, mental health services, even transitional housing if needed. It's time for Michelle to sink or swim. I hope she swims, I said. Me too, my dad replied. Your studio? Are you happy there? Very happy, I said. It's small, but it's perfect for me. Good. That's good. We ended the call on a surprisingly positive note. It felt like progress. Michelle got a job. I couldn't believe it when Erin told me. She was working at a coffee shop downtown. Full-time, minimum wage plus tips. She'd been there 2 weeks and hadn't quit yet. She actually seems to like it, Erin said. I stopped by yesterday and she was chatting with customers, making drinks, seeming almost normal. The ultimatum from my dad had worked. Faced with the real possibility of homelessness, Michelle had applied for dozens of jobs and taken the first one offered. She was also attending therapy twice a week and taking medication for her anxiety and depression. My mom called me last week. The conversation was awkward, but necessary. I'm sorry, she said without preamble. I was wrong. We were wrong. Okay, I said, not sure where this was going. I've been in therapy too, she admitted. Individual therapy to understand why I felt so compelled to save Michelle from every struggle. The therapist thinks it stems from guilt about working so much when you kids were young. I missed a lot with you because you were so independent and I overcompensated with Michelle. I turned her into this. Mom continued, her voice thick with emotion. This person who can't function without someone rescuing her. And I was willing to sacrifice your home, your comfort, your success, to continue enabling her. That was unforgivable. It's not unforgivable, I said, my voice softening, but it was wrong. Your father and I would like to see your new apartment, she said. Not to stay, just to visit, to see that you're okay. I can do that, I said. Sunday afternoon. You can stay for 2 hours. Parking is metered. She laughed. Actually laughed. We deserve that. They came on Sunday. Both of them were visibly shocked by how small the studio was, but they were polite about it. It's very efficient, Mom said, trying to be diplomatic. It's exactly what I need, I said. My dad looked around at my minimalist setup. You really got rid of everything. Everything that didn't fit, I confirmed. It's actually been liberating. I realize now how much stuff I had just because I had space for it. We had coffee and talked. Not about Michelle, not about the house, just normal conversation. It was nice. As they were leaving, Mom hugged me. I'm proud of you, she whispered, for standing up for yourself, for not letting us bully you, for being stronger than I taught you to be. Thanks, Mom. After they left, I sat in my tiny apartment and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. No drama waiting to explode. No guilt about not doing enough. No anxiety about what crisis would come next. My phone buzzed. It was Michelle. Can we talk? The text read. Michelle and I met at a neutral location. A park halfway between her coffee shop and my apartment. She looked different, tired, but in a good way. Like someone who'd been working, instead of someone who'd been crying. I wanted to apologize, she started, her gaze steady. Like really apologize. Not the fake apologies I used to do to get what I wanted. I stayed quiet, letting her talk. My therapist has been helping me understand that I've been manipulative, that I learned really young that if I had a crisis, people would drop everything to help me, and that became my way of dealing with everything. She pulled out a notebook, worn from use. I've been working on taking accountability. I wrote down all the money Mom and Dad spent on me. It's over $60,000 in the last 5 years. That doesn't even include the stuff they bought me or the bills they paid directly. That's a lot of money, I said carefully. It's a college education, she said bitterly. It's a down payment on a house. It's years of someone else's work that I just took because I could. She looked directly at me. And for the first time in years, I saw my little sister, not the manipulative drama queen she'd become, but the girl who used to follow me around, wanting to play video games and build forts. And I was going to take your bedroom, your actual bedroom in your actual house, like it was nothing, like you owed it to me just for existing. Yeah, you were, I agreed, a faint smile playing on my lips. The worst part is I felt entitled to it. When Mom and Dad first suggested it, I thought, finally, something good is happening to me. I didn't even think about what it meant for you. You'd worked for years to buy that house, and I just thought I deserved the best room in it because I was struggling. She paused, visibly struggling with the next part. When you sold the house, I hated you. I mean, really hated you. I told everyone you were a monster, that you chose money over family. But my therapist made me work through it, and you didn't choose money over family. You chose yourself over my manipulation, and that's exactly what you should have done. I felt something in my chest loosen that I didn't even know was tight. I'm not asking for forgiveness, she continued, her voice earnest. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know that I get it now, and I'm sorry. Not sorry that I got caught, or sorry that it didn't work out, but sorry that I tried to do it in the first place. Thank you, I said simply. We talked for another hour. She told me about her job, how hard it was at first to be on her feet all day, to deal with difficult customers, to show up even when she didn't feel like it. But I haven't missed a day, she said proudly. Even when my anxiety is bad, I go in. My therapist says that's huge for me. She was seeing a psychiatrist regularly, taking medication that actually helped. She was living in a small room in a shared house, paying her own rent for the first time in her life. It's not much, she admitted, but it's mine. I earned it. That's all that matters, I said. She told me she was thinking about going back to school, community college part-time, just 1 or 2 classes while she worked. My therapist thinks having a goal that I'm working toward on my own would be good for me. That sounds like a great idea, I said, meaning it. I might study accounting, she said with a small smile. Dad's been teaching me about budgeting and financial planning. Turns out I'm not bad with numbers when I actually try. As we were leaving, she said, your studio apartment sounds really nice. Small but nice. It is, I agreed. Good, she said. You deserve a space that's just yours. Everyone does. She paused, then added, I'm saving up for my own place. A real apartment, not just a room. It'll take a while on coffee shop wages, but I'm going to do it. No help from Mom and Dad. No manipulation, just me earning it. I'm proud of you, I said, and for the first time in a long time, I genuinely meant it. I'm proud of me, too, she said, her smile broadening. For the first time in my life, I'm actually proud of who I'm becoming. My parents and I have rebuilt our relationship, slowly but steadily. They come for coffee once a month, always respecting the 2-hour limit. We've had real conversations about boundaries, about enabling, about family dynamics. They're all in family therapy now, Patricia, Robert, and Michelle together once a week, plus their individual sessions. The therapist is helping them rebuild their relationship on healthier ground. Mom sent me a text last week. Therapist says we turned you into the family hero and Michelle into the eternal victim. Neither role was fair to either of you. My dad has been the biggest surprise. He's taken a firm stance with Michelle, supporting her progress, but not enabling her backsliding. He helped her create a budget, taught her about credit scores, even helped her open her first savings account. I should have done this 20 years ago, he told me during their last visit. As for me, I'm thriving. The studio is perfect, easy to clean, cheap to heat and cool, and completely mine. No one asks to stay over because there's nowhere to stay. No one expects me to host holidays because there's no room. My space is my space. I got promoted at work last month. My boss, Kevin, said, "You've seemed so much more focused lately. Whatever you're doing, keep it up." What I'm doing is not carrying my family's drama on my shoulders. I'm dating someone new, Jennifer, actually the realtor who sold my house. We ran into each other at a coffee shop, not Michelle's, and she asked how the studio was working out. We ended up talking for 3 hours. She understands boundaries. She respects my space. She has her own life and doesn't need me to save her from it. It's refreshing. The Europe trip is next month. 3 weeks, 6 countries, solo like I planned. Though Jennifer might meet me in Paris for a few days. Separate hotel rooms, of course. My space is still my space. Michelle has now been at her job for 3 months, a record for her. She got a small raise and was made a shift supervisor. She sent me a picture of her first performance review, which said she was reliable, hardworking, and showed leadership potential. "I've never gotten a positive performance review before," she texted. "I usually quit before they can review me." She's still in therapy, still taking her medication, still living in her small room, but she's doing it all herself. No manipulation, no dramatics, no threats. Just work. Last week, she texted me something that made me smile. "A customer was really rude today. Old me would have quit on the spot and called mom crying. New me just smiled, made his coffee, and complained to my co-worker on break like a normal person." Progress. Looking back, selling the house was the best decision I ever made. Not because I wanted to punish my family, but because I needed to break the cycle. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to enable someone's dysfunction, even when it's easier to give in. My family learned that my success didn't make me responsible for Michelle's failures. Michelle learned that she was capable of taking care of herself when she had no other choice. My parents learned that their help was actually harm. And I learned that it's okay to protect yourself, even from family, especially from family sometimes. The house I sold is full of children's laughter. The Johnson girls each have their own room, decorated exactly how they wanted. Mrs. Johnson sends me pictures sometimes. The garden is thriving. They painted the kitchen a cheerful yellow, and there's a swing set in the backyard. That house is serving a family that appreciates it, instead of being a battlefield for manipulation and entitlement. My studio might be small, but my life is bigger than ever. I travel. I save money. I invest in my future. I have relationships based on mutual respect, not obligation. I have peace. Michelle sent me a text yesterday. Just 3 words. "Thank you, James." I replied with 3 words of my own. "You're welcome, sis. We're going to be okay, all of us." Finally, sometimes you have to burn it all down to build something better. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is say no. Sometimes protecting yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. And sometimes a 650 square foot studio with no guest room is worth more than a 3-bedroom house full of manipulation and guilt. That's my story. Judge me if you want, but I'm sleeping better than I have in years. In my tiny apartment, in my single bed, in my completely mine space. I'm finally free. So what do you guys think? Was I out of line? Or was this the only way to finally set boundaries? Have you ever had to draw a hard line with family? Let me know in the comments below. I really want to hear your thoughts.